Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Andersen of Madison Max Living. There are literally thousands of articles and studies published every day. Finding the most pertinent and useful natural health information can be a daunting task. It's easy to be overwhelmed with the volume of information and difficult to know what to do next. On Max Living, we'll filter these articles and studies to bring you and your family the best natural healthcare news. Join co-host Stacy Hansen and myself coming up next.
Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. Natural healthcare news is the topic of the day. We've got a lot of great stuff to share with you today. And the first one I'd like to talk about is, you know, in college, a lot of people pull the all-nighters for studying. You know, that's just kind of the classic thing that people do. Well, no surprise, research is coming out saying that that's not a good idea. In fact, that can actually hurt your GPA if you're not getting enough sleep. And, you know, I remember my first year of college and I probably slept like 3 or 4 hours a night. You know, I made it through, you know. But they say it's not your best idea. They found, this is from the North Jersey Record, and this was the findings published by the Japanese Society of Child Neurology, found that not getting enough sleep is consistent with a higher occurrence of headaches and hypersomnolence, which happens to be, which I learned today, excessive daytime sleepiness or nighttime sleep. So you're just tired all the time. And if you think of a lot of college students that you know or have known, they're always tired all the time.
Yeah, they are.
During the day. So, you know, what's come up with this is students don't perform as well in school when they're not getting that REM state of sleep. Now for young adults in college and for adolescents, you know, kids in high school, their typical sleep cycle starts around midnight and it ends around 8 or 9 a.m. Well, a lot of people have 8 a.m. classes, and if you have that sleep cycle, you wouldn't be hitting REM sleep until between 5 to 7 a.m. Well, that's usually when you're waking up to get ready for class. You're not getting that REM sleep.
Right.
So then you're not functioning as well and you're not going to do as well in school.
And I would bet there's a few college students not in bed by midnight.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's pretty conservative for that age. We remember, right, Dr. Pat? So they say consistent all-nighters are found to correlate to more stress, overeating, and underperforming. So one of the things they said is, at least in college, you know, most of the time you have some control over scheduling your classes or choosing your classes, so try not to pick that if you feel like that's going to affect you, that early one. And then, you know, just the all-nighter's not going to work for studying anymore. Don't cram it all in. Make sure you're getting enough sleep or your grades just not
I really
going to.
don't think you learn that much when you cram it. You might pass a test, but it'll probably go out the window a whole lot faster as well.
You're not going to remember it, so yeah.
That's kind of the purpose of going to college.
Right. Your hard-earned tuition dollars. So, yeah, so maybe a wake-up call for people there, no pun intended. When you had
Oh, that's good.
A good one, eh?
I've got one here on omega-3 shortfall crisis. We talk a lot about omega-3 issues. This is from Dr. Josh Axe, and it states, it's clear the United States is in the midst of a nutritional crisis. It isn't so much about what people are eating, although it does matter, it's what they're not getting. And omega-3 fish oil are so important, and it states that 90% of Americans aren't getting enough. 9 in 10 people living in the United States are low in omega-3 fatty acids.
Wow, so it's pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And omega-3s are important for cardiovascular health. They're important in cognitive function, how your brain works.
Right.
Supporting joint health. They're helpful for pain management. Many people don't realize that. Yeah. And every cell wall in your body is going to be either made from an omega-3 or omega-6. It's a phospholipid layer around every cell. Wow. And if you don't have enough omega-3s, the body will grab the omega-6s, the trans fats, the junk food. It'll make a cell wall out of that. And that cell wall is not very flexible. Omega-6s aren't flexible enough to squeeze through the small capillaries and drop off the oxygen.
Okay.
So fish oils really are important in your overall heart health and oxygenation of your body, because you're stiffer cells when you have an imbalance. Now, the standard American diet, it says here, is a 20-to-1 ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. Paleolithic man had 1-to-1 or 2-to-1. and that's the ultimate
6 to
goal.
1.
But if you can get close to 4 to 1, you're much better. So just think heart, brain, and joints when it talks
Wow.
omega-3s. And lastly here, a really important comment is that in the University of New York at Albany, scientists found dioxin levels in farm-raised salmon are 11 times higher than those in wild salmon. And they're linked to cancer and endocrine disorders, and they remain stored in your fat cells. And lastly, look for a all-star antioxidant support, one that has the triglyceride form of omega-3s. And if your
Okay.
omega-3 supplement that you take doesn't say triglyceride form on it, it's not as good.
It's not the right one.
Yeah, they're much more
Okay.
effective and much more natural in the triglyceride form.
Interesting. Definitely want to start upping those omega-3s as soon as possible. Stay with us. There's more right after this. Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. We were just talking about omega-3s before the break, and we were talking about fish, but we also were just talking about chia seeds too. I feel like that's a pretty good source. It's easy for me to mix
It
into
is.
omega-3s for omega-3s.
It is a really good source of omega-3s. It's not as good as marine lipids, but it's still very helpful. And in the last article, it actually said that in Mexico, chia seeds were at one time used as currency in some places.
Can you
And
imagine?
then ancient warriors would use chia seeds to fuel them for a day of battle.
Wow, so if you've got a big day ahead,
If you've got a battle day
Yeah,
ahead, you take your chia
take some
seeds.
chia seeds. So great, and if a currency, it seems like it'd be pretty impractical, because what if you you dropped it in the grass?
That's right.
It's gone. There's your life savings gone.
Yeah.
So we've got some more articles here to share with you today. This one's about dementia, and it says vascular dementia is the most common type. And the NHS lists some early symptoms for it. So some things to watch out for, which they could start out in a mild form, are slowness of thought, difficulty with planning, trouble with understanding, and problems with concentration. Could be early signs. So a lot of people are affected by this. This says that in the UK, around 850,000 people are affected. But there's some ways the Alzheimer's Society has here things you can do to try to prevent. Keep physically active, don't smoke, eat a balanced diet. These are the things we're always telling you to do for everything. Keep your alcohol within recommended limits, and just try to live a healthy lifestyle. It's just amazing if you make the right choices and do some of these things. So many of these bad things just across the board are addressed.
Right. And Dr. John Rady said that 50% less Alzheimer's in his book Spark. It's a good book to read on health.
Oh, okay.
In his book Spark, 50% less Alzheimer's if you do cardio 3 times a week.
And that's very doable. Yeah, 3 times a week.
So
50%.
we are more
less.
in control of our health than
we think.
we think.
Which is really a positive, encouraging thought, too.
So I've got one here, 15 omega-3 foods. We always talk about how important they are, and it's good to supplement and necessary to supplement omega-3s, I believe, but it's half and half. I think we should always eat a better diet and use supplements. You don't want to make a whole meal of supplements. You wanna
Right,
eat
it always
real
seems
food.
good to get it from food, too, yeah.
So I would like to list 15 foods. First off, omega-3s cause, if you're lacking them, inflammation, higher risk for heart disease, digestive disorders, allergies, arthritis, joint and muscle pain, mental disorders like depression, poor brain development, and cognitive decline.
Wow, it's a lot.
That
That's
is a
pretty
lot.
across the board there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the best omega-3 foods are listed. Mackerel, they're listed salmon, cod liver oil, walnuts is a good way to get it if
Walnuts.
you don't
You
like,
wouldn't
some
have
people
thought
don't like
of-
fish
yeah,
as much.
walnuts.
Walnuts are rated quite high. Chia seeds, we talked about.
Okay, there they are.
Herring. I think the pickled herring, wild caught, is not a bad thing to have around in the refrigerator when you need a snack. Get a protein snack
have
and
thought
get
of
your
that.
omega-3.
Pickled
Some
herring.
people don't like pickled herring, but it's really healthy.
Pretty good.
Wild caught Alaskan salmon, flax seeds, albacore tuna. You have to watch the mercury a little bit on that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And an
with some of
interesting
those.
thing, if one doctor I was reading said, take Dr. Wolfson in his book, The Paleocardiologist. Great book, by the way, too. He says if you're eating fish, always have some chlorella with it. And the chlorella is an algae green, dark green powder, and that'll absorb mercury and not let it get taken into your body. And it's a great heavy metal detoxifier. It's chlorella. So just throw a teaspoon of that into a smoothie on a regular basis, and it's very healthy food.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah.
And so we've got whitefish, sardines. Sardines are rated really high too, because you can eat the whole sardine. You get a lot in the bone from the sardine.
Goes your
and they're low in mercury levels. Hemp seeds, anchovies, and natto, which is a fermented soy product.
Oh, that I've not heard of.
And egg yolks. We're all high. So 15 foods to boost your omega-3s, so we don't just want to rely on supplementing.
It's interesting that egg yolks is on there because I remember a time when that was considered kind of the wrong thing to eat. We'll stay with us. More interesting tips right after this. Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. Got a lot of interesting healthcare news to share with you today. I've got one here for the parents out there. Especially for, it's kind of more for little kids and early elementary school kids. It's an article by Christina Margolis, and it's talking about if your child's struggling with low self-esteem or just feel like they need a little more confidence, some things that you can do as a parent to sort of encourage that confidence. And one of the things on here I thought was kind of interesting was that make sure you're enrolling them in an activity that they both love and excel in. Sometimes, like in the article here, you might enroll your child in something you think they should be in. Like this example here, they were enrolled in karate and ballet. Well, it so happened that the child didn't really do that well at that and didn't feel good at that. And so it was sort of eating away at their self-esteem. But then they enrolled her in some theater activities. She was a natural at it. It was a game changer for her.
Isn't that great?
So really kind of listen to your child and watch your child as far as what they're interested, I think.
Try a lot of things and gravitate to the right.
And maybe some kid isn't as good at sports or something. So you want to make sure that they're going where they're strong. And just keep encouraging them, complimenting them, leave encouraging notes. She leaves positive little notes in their lunchbox every day, like have a super day or just little puns like that. And just little notes, making sure that you're finding ways to compliment them, even if it's just a small thing. Just noticing everything that they're doing every day, and try to brag about them nicely, politely, but just make sure that they hear. I do that with my child. Like I'll say to my husband, I'll say, oh, they did this today and it was so great, or wow, I can't believe how good they are at this, and make sure that they hear you.
Sure.
And it really they may act embarrassed about it, but it
drives into their subconscious and it changes what they believe about themselves.
And I think that they really look to their parents and figures like that.
Absolutely. Who
am I? And, am I, worthwhile person? Let them teach you too. If you feel like there's something that they're really good at, everybody's got one or two or more skills that they're really good at. Let them teach you. Maybe they're good at drawing or something. Oh, can you teach me how to draw that? And they're so proud and feel like, wow, I'm better at that than mom is or dad is. Let them help, even if they're helping another small child that they see, or anything to make them feel like, it's a self-esteem booster.
It's just so important to boost our children's self-esteem. So one of my favorite things to say to my kids as they were growing up was, you're the best. You're the best. And they really, really soaked into their conscious. And of course, they both say they're the best, and they did come back to me and say, well, which one of us is better?
Did they? Well, you got caught eventually.
You're both the best in your own way.
Right. You're best at different things.
On that same thing, to boost a child or anyone's mood is one of my favorite statements. I learned this from Tony Robbins. You know what I love most about you?
Oh,
and then you just start listing things. It is so powerful. Instead of hearing, oh, you're never going to accomplish anything, or you're bad at this, bad at that, rah, 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 say something good. I just love the fact that you're so phenomenal at getting to school every day on time, and start making a list of things that they do right. I've never had to ask you to eat your food up. You eat it all well, and you're choosing the good food. I'm so proud of you for that. And I'm so proud of your grades. This is impressive. You're doing better than I did in school. That's awesome. Just pour that into a child, And that's how we build self-esteem into them, with such influences as your parents. And have their friends over and be influential in their lives too.
Yeah, and just be present too. Like, I think that's kind of what you're even getting at too. They say here, just even if you don't have a lot of time, even if you're just having to cuddle on the couch for a little bit, as long as it's your undivided attention, they just soak that up.
And for many parents, there's a separation involved, and it's hard. It's hard for the kids, but when we first see the kids, just say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here," and spend that first half hour or an hour just pouring into them. Pretty soon they'll say, "Well, I'm going to go play this now over here." But
Yeah.
they feel cared for and loved because you made sure they were a top priority the second you saw them.
Oh, that's a great idea too, because sometimes, as a parent, you do feel a little tired.
Well, it's not an easy job.
Right, but make sure that they feel that right away, and then you relax later. And yeah, so basically, just they say show your child off a little bit, put their artwork on the fridge.
Sure.
Anything you can do to show them that you think that they're special.
I think kid art is just fantastic. I still have some in my house when the kids were 4 years old, and I just love walking
And
by.
it's just the coolest kind of pop art type of thing you can find. Yeah, sometimes impressionistic. Well, stay with us. We have a lot more great life tips right after this. Welcome back to Max Living with Dr. Patrick Andersen. Got so much great stuff to share with you today, and I love the thing that you just said before the break about, just saying to someone, "This is what I love. This is what I love about you."
You know what I love most about you?
Yeah,
and
and
just
that's
say that to your children, to your friends, and
to anybody
people.
that you care about. And it just takes a minute, and they're going to remember that forever and make such an impact. I love that.
Yeah. So I've got an article here, the 6 signs of depression. If something really bothers me, one of the things that bothers me a lot, besides poor nutrition for kids, is just the amount of depression out there where people don't have good self-esteem. And there's 6 signs of that depression, but there's so much that can be done naturally to boost people out of a depressive state. But this lists, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, in 2016, 16.2 million, or 6.7% of Americans, experience a major depressive episode every year.
Every year.
8.5% of women and 4.8% of men. And so depression is one of the most common mental disorders, so chances someone is grappling with the condition.
Probably, yeah. Wow.
And persistent feelings of sadness over the course of 2 weeks or more should be taken seriously. Some of the most common signs: isolating behavior and withdrawal from previously pleasurable things. So a spouse or kids or a relative or friend, if they're isolating themselves and not doing what they always love to do, suspect depression going on. Physical symptoms are really entwined. Joint aches and pains, headaches, and digestive issues are common warning signs. Irritability, if someone is jumping off on something that they normally are much more calm about, they're irritable, often that can be related to depression. Concentration problems, hard to focus, could be depression issues building. Appetite and sleep changes. So some people will eat far less when they're depressed, others will eat far more when they're depressed. And sleep will change often with it. And this last one, the 6th one here, Dr. Reed Kessler, a licensed psychologist in California, says one of the lesser known signs of depression is the belief that the person feels that they're a bad person.
Oh, wow.
And they deserve bad things to happen to them, which is just really sad.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's
And of course, one of the worst things that can ever happen is someone taking their own life, and we see way too much of that. And National Suicide Prevention Lifeline has a number, 1-800-273-8255. So utilize that if you're feeling these things. And from a natural viewpoint, get out and get a walk. You'll always feel better. Move quickly. A depressed person doesn't want to move. They're just slow. Do something quick, whether it's shadow boxing or tap dancing or throwing punches like this really quick. Anything like that will stimulate your nervous system. Get some extra sleep and clean up that diet. Have a great natural food and call a friend.
Yeah.
So there are things that can be done, and get adjusted, boosts brain blood supply significantly for many people.
So it's nice to know that there's some things you can do to take back control, because
Exactly.
I'm sure in that state, the last thing you feel like is you have any control. over
Exactly.
anything. So if you're feeling that way, definitely give that number a call too. And also, there's, again, diet. We're always talking about diet. And one of the things here too that we've talked about a lot, we wanted to bring up one more time, is the Dirty Dozen list. And this is the new one for 2018. So again, that's the fruits and veggies that have the most pesticides in them. So these are the ones that you want to really go organic on, I would say. Number one is strawberries. I would have thought that'd be grapes, but that's a little further down in the list. Spinach, too. It doesn't seem like it would be the kind of thing.
It's a high pesticide
But
food.
it is. So definitely want to go organic on spinach, nectarines, apples. Apples you want to try to avoid, and of course grapes. Grapes just always look dirty in the package. You just
Don't they?
feel like there's.
You just feel like you
you're
want to
not
wash 'em.
surprised, yeah. Peaches and cherries. So there's a lot of fruits on here. Pears, tomatoes. 4 pesticide residues were found on the conventionally grown tomato in the study that they did. Celery, potatoes, and sweet bell peppers. Which again, these innocent-looking things might have
Exactly.
a
And the
lot
other
of-
one that's quite highly consumed is coffee. Coffee is a high pesticide product.
I wouldn't have thought that either.
And so if you really need to look at organic coffee, get those pesticides, get rid of those pesticides.
So definitely want to check some of that out the next time you're at the supermarket. Stay with us, there's more right after the break.
Thank you for watching our show on Natural Healthcare News. After listening, I hope you are left with a sense of how amazing the human body is. By putting the latest studies to work in your lifestyle, you can absolutely drive better health. One of the best things you can do to drive better health for you and your family is to make sure you have a sound structure and nervous system. This means that a chiropractic checkup is essential for optimal health. Call 608-833-1282 for a checkup appointment today. For Max Living, I'm Dr. Patrick Andersen. Until next time, live well and God bless.
Have your questions for Dr. Pat answered on an episode of Maximize Living. Send your email to drpat@wi57.tv.